Welcome. I'm Phil Svitek, and this is Jaimi Alexander.
Hey.
Now, normally when I do my vlog, I do it by myself. But I have Jaimi here, and for those of you who know, I film everything in bulk. And so I figured, why not have a whole Jaimi and Phil week?
Why not? I'm here for it.
Now, the theme of last week, and it's going to be evident somewhat in the audio, is we've been tried and we've been tested.
Amen.
Today's Martin Luther King Day, and they are roofing. They were roofing since 7 a.m. And, sometimes you kind of they're not trying to piss you off. And so I have to take it with a grain of salt. And, so let me run down the things that have happened in my life, and then you can kind of give yours.
Okay.
So last week I had to upgrade Adobe, and that includes Adobe Premiere, Audition, all that stuff, because apparently if I didn't, it would all stop working. So I was like, all right, great. Now, mind you, you never want to upgrade in the middle of a big project, which I had a lot of.
Ooh.
But I was like, well, if it's going to stop working and I need to upgrade, great. But then I upgraded, and that's when it stopped working. I was like, awesome,
God.
awesome. So
Oh my God.
a lot of projects got slowed down because of that. So that's the theme of my week. But, you take it all in strides, and you're like, all right, rather than be pissed off, let's talk to tech support. Let's figure this shit out.
God.
Lots of tech support calls.
Which are always so much fun.
Again, they're trying. I get it. People get so pissed off at them for no reason. It's like they're trying to do the best they can.
Yeah.
They're trying to help you out. There's no reason to yell at them. So, I take it in strides. But what is some of the challenges you've been facing?
Well, it's kind of the same thing, and I'm in customer service, so I have to have a certain attitude about myself. And, being a woman, not being too graphic, but when it's that time of the month, you're really not having it. And I work a full-time job, and it was like a couple of things. Sometimes I get very aggravated because right now we're in a transformation in our office, so a transition, I mean. So one boss left. He was amazing. And not to say the new guy is not amazing. He is in his own way, but he's not what
But he's
we
starting
had.
off.
Correct.
Yeah.
So things are very different. We had someone else quit. So the office is in this awkward transition. And, I'm very on top of things, and I can function at a high level. But sometimes when you're like that, you find yourself carrying more weight. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm tired. So there was one day I was like, okay. I couldn't sleep because I live in ghetto Koreatown, and Koreatown is non-stop. I mean, there had to have been a helicopter looking for some criminal a block from my house. I didn't even know helicopters had so much gas. This thing went around in the same circle for at least 4 hours.
At that point, don't you just dispatch some people on the ground?
There was people on the ground. They had taped some stuff off. I don't even know what was going on. It was a nightmare. So I was up like this, having to be up early in the morning. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to make it in on time. So I was just going to be late. And so I get up. I'm trying to do it. And I was just exhausted. So already I'm in the shower, and my water pressure doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I require in my life, I don't care about too much, but I need a good shower.
That does set you off, right? Yeah.
Come on.
I
I
agree.
already couldn't sleep. I'm going through, my cycle. So I get in the and I was like, you know what? I'm not going. I'm not going to work. I am not going, because I can already see what is happening here. So by the time I get out of the shower, I already have a text from my boss, like, what time are you coming in? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm going to have to see you guys tomorrow. So I applaud myself for having the self-care and putting myself first, because I was so agitated. And I ended up going to work the day after that, but then I was kind of agitated the next day. It was wild, because even that day I took off, I had to do community service. I got a ticket, instead of paying all the
mandatory
money.
community service.
Yeah, but I chose doing it at a church. And when you're really, for me, when I'm agitated, the last thing I kind of want to do is God's gonna do this and that. It's like, all right, I'm just not in the mood right now, But it ended up being exactly where I needed to be, and it was so nice because the pastor was led to pray over me and all these things. So I needed that blessing in that moment. But it's just been a rough and wild, wonky week.
Yeah, which it's very apropos, right? So I'm gonna paraphrase the quote, so apologies, but there's a Martin Luther King quote that says, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, just keep moving.
I mean, something, right?
Yeah.
Seriously.
So I, and that's where a lot of people get so down on themselves, and I get it. And there are deadlines in a lot of things. but for me, I prioritize obviously the stuff that I get paid for is different than the stuff that I'm just doing for myself as much as I want to meet certain deadlines.
Right.
But as Don Miguel Ruiz says, all you can do, just do your best. So your best in one moment when you're like hangry, tired, and all that, it's going to be a little bit different than when you're refreshed.
Absolutely. And like I said, because I'm in customer service now, I did have a sick day because, we got to make our money. So I did cash that in because, that's very needed. But if I don't have the capacity to give to myself, it's really hard to try to give to other people. And I'm a strong personality. I can be a straight shooter. And sometimes, like where I'm at, people like call back to back to back, or they have tons of questions. And sometimes I have to be like, look, I already told you, like this, and I'm just a little bit extra. So I really need my rest when I say I need my rest.
Yeah, and I think that's a big component of just most things in life is just be open about it. Mm-hmm. If you kind of give it some context. For example, here's a good example that I recently heard. A boss over at the Disney Engineering Center, right? Uh-huh. They're responsible for like all the rides, like basically anything but the movies. And he's a hard ass. And people didn't know why. Now, one day, he took him on a trip. I might be getting the story right, but the sentiment remains the same. Mm-hmm. And they saw a father with a daughter. Now, the father was in a wheelchair. Uh-huh. But the idea is that only in Disney can that father still feel like it's a father-daughter day versus like him in a wheelchair. Because it is so handicap accessible. And that's why he's a hard ass, which elevated everybody else because it gave him a sense of purpose that like we're not just doing like this because he's an asshole. We're doing it so someone can have that moment.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful. I really love that because you're right about being real and being on top of things. Like, as I explained, I like to be on top of my work, and I work in leasing. So as a military brat, I moved every 2 or 3 years. So I think it's the 3 things that stress adults most is a death in the family, divorce, and moving. So I definitely put my best face forward in making sure people have a good experience because it's not just, about me and having a good day or my boss being like, be here, do this, do that. It's very much like, that person had a late flight, lost the luggage, wasn't sure if they could rent. The last place turned them down. They didn't want to move in the first place. There's all these things that happen before it gets to us. And it's like the least we can do is give them a good experience because it's stressful as is.
But also too, by you giving that context of like, hey, I am trying to help you. I'm not at my best today.
We're all human. We understand that. I find being real works very well.
Yeah, and so like when you talk about authentic, it doesn't mean like, oh, just give excuse after excuse, but it's like let me give you some content, and let's just have a certain level of respect and compassion both for each other. Like I get it, your computer's busted. My computer's not busted, but I'm in this sort of boat.
Yeah.
So and I think I found certainly because I did so much tech support, and for the same issue, it kept reoccurring. And so, like, I just kept having to invent new ways of saying, like, I've already emailed about this. I have a case open. You're going to ask me the same questions everyone else asked me. Like, how do I just get, I was like, how do we expedite this so I can give you the information? If I have to give it to you again, fine. But, like, let's just do it. And I'm here. I'm not trying to be upset. I just want the solution. And I get that it's not your fault, so let's just make this work.
I find myself saying that a lot on the phone, like, or wait, where was I? I feel like God, I had to go to AfterBuzz, and it was hilarious because our show wasn't even airing, and like everybody was clueless, and I spent so much money in Uber trying to be on time and doing all this, and the guy, when he told me, I dropped my jaw, and I was like, because I literally got out of bed, okay, like I be needing my rest. And I was like, I came all the way, and I was like, it's not you, but I cannot believe this happened. I was like, I am not mad at you, but I am just upset in general. I can't believe I did put all that effort, and like, nothing's happening.
Let me ask you this. So, because there's been plenty of times in my life where like no one's at fault but me, where like, you put something wrong in your calendar.
Yeah.
Literally was about to happen to me today where I had something at 7, then it's actually for tomorrow, which luckily I caught. But sometimes you don't. And so. Yeah. I don't know. It's a very curious thing. Like, how do you I guess the answer is you forgive yourself, but what do you do like in those instances where you're just like, crap?
I mean, to be honest, I just learned to move on. I mean, sometimes that's the only thing you can do. Like, you can choose to spend 2 days being pissed off that you wasted 2 hours and $15, or, you know what I mean? You could be like, oh my God, like, let me get more on top of this, or I'm going to remember next time to check this or do that or whatnot. So I think there's a learning experience in it, and then an opportunity to strengthen your mental fortitude and your emotions to just be like, all right, well, everything happens for a reason. Because what I did get out of that trip that could have looked like nonsense is I kind of got clarity on some other things in my life, just as far as like, so I explained that I live in Koreatown. And to be honest, I love my little apartment. It's cute. It's affordable. It's the kind of thing you don't get rid of out here. It's on rent control. And it's beautiful on the inside. But when you walk outside, you're like, are you serious?
Yeah, I was gonna live in what I was when I was looking. I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. So on my walk home, because I had to take the train again, I really got perspective. Like, you know what? I'm gonna let go of this apartment mentally. And so I started getting ideas about where I want to be and how I want to live. And I opened my prayer journal. And the last entry that I had wrote was make room for new things. Mm-hmm. And so me being excited about coming to the conclusion, like, this location, this vibe, what I'm doing here isn't working, and wanting to shift that literally put me in alignment with myself. So I was so happy yesterday to be like, wow, I needed to go through that just to be frustrated enough to say, okay, girl, the cheap rent and the this and that, like, it's not work, let it go. So I'm going to stay in the apartment until whatever. However, mentally, I'm not like, basing my whole life off of being in that apartment because it's affordable and I can do this and I can do that. What if I just started making buku bucks and didn't even have to be there anymore? Jaimi, give yourself space to win and to fill the things you don't want with things that you do. Yeah. So it ended up working out. But I feel like it was because I gave myself a chance instead of just being angry about wasting money and time and I could have did this and all right. It gave me a perspective on something I needed.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like when you talk about I joked that my word for the year was eat shit. In the sense that I was gonna really be humble and just nose to the grindstone and just keep at it. Mm-hmm. And so when I hear roofers,
they're going to town up there.
It's almost 3 p.m. now. They've been going at it since 7 a.m. Bless them. Hopefully, what is that? That's a 9-hour day soon. Or 8-hour day.
It's time to stop. About 30 minutes.
Well, for that, but it's one of those things of like, did I manifest this onto myself, or is this just like part of the journey?
It's so interesting too, because I think it's part of the journey. Because like I was saying, I do believe distraction is evidence of like destiny. It's meant to be, and so we can choose to be like, well, I'm not doing this anymore, or I'm just gonna cancel, or I'm gonna do that, or you can push through. And I bet you we get so much value today because we both showed up and pushed through, and we're doing it anyway.
Hopefully it sounds fine. So, okay, I want to shift a little bit and to kind of conclude, let's talk about victories, right? So I'm going to steal from Sophia Amoruso. She has, at the end of every Girl Boss show, her Girl Boss moment. And I'll include myself. I'll give some Girl Boss moments for myself.
Yes.
But for you, in spite of all this crap, what was like some of the Girl Boss victories for you last week?
Let's see, victories. I'm finding victories these days are a little more, you know what? Well, I was really able to help somebody get into their apartment, and I really went above and beyond for her, so that felt good. And she was able to, I feel like I won so much from helping her out. Like, her dad was in gratitude because she had just come from France and money orders and all this stuff. So I was able to really help her out. And, she showed me some extra gratitude, which was nice. And she also ended up getting furniture from one of our partners. So I feel like I basically got a triple commission off of that,
nice.
One thing. And who doesn't need money or extra money, whatever extra money is. But I'm finding these days that my victories are more how I overcome things within myself. So the example I just gave with being able to make room, and being able to push through and just leaving myself open to receive. Like, I could have canceled my community service, but I pushed through and did that, especially because I already had taken off work, and I ended up being blessed for it. So I'm just these little victories to me are things that I see are adding up in some way that I maybe can't see physically yet, but I just feel good that I've grown. So for me, those small little things were victories, going above and beyond for those customers, showing up when I didn't want to, and making light out of a negative situation.
Yeah,
Those are my 3 victories.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My victories, I guess, ultimately would be I was able to do all the things I needed to do for my work, which is always like, that's the foundation. I got to work a Grammys event, so that was fun. And it was work, but it was fun. Mm-hmm. And in spite of everything, I was still able to finish a second draft of my feature film. So that's moving slowly. We're trying to make a big deadline. And so like when you kind of look at it, you're like, this is a Herculean task, but I don't look
like it.
I don't look at it that way. I mean, we have, what's today? We have less than a month and a half left
to get it done. To
get it done, which again, it's an arbitrary deadline ultimately, based on like just where we want to submit to. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But we're gonna keep moving forward. But at the same time, we're not compromising our artistic integrity just to meet a certain deadline. So we'll see.
I love that.
It's interesting how many people you kind of talk to that are successful and don't meet deadlines.
I mean, I know, and I like you with the not compromising, because I had to tell myself that last year. I have been doing like a monthly brunch party every month since December 2014. And last year I was just feeling, it's usually third Sundays, so November, December. It's like that runs into holidays, so I took a break. But I should have did one in January, but I didn't, because I'm just not ready. I needed a break. I needed a moment. It's my thing, and it's just nice to have the space. And now I'll do one for February, and I'm excited to step into it. But it just feels good not to be pressed. And I'm even learning to give myself space and not be so pressured to get things done. Like, nothing's gonna happen if I skip a month of brunch. Relax.
Yeah.
I used to be really uptight about stuff like that and force myself to get it done. And I don't live that way anymore. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, sometimes, it just depends what it is ultimately. Yeah. But anyway, this was a lot of fun. Yeah. Jaimi's going to be on a bunch of other videos and the podcast throughout the week, so keep checking back in. And also, I can't take credit necessarily for it, but now Jaimi's going to do a lot more of her content.
Yay!
Right? So give us a little sneak preview into that.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. So I've been trying to figure out my YouTube channel, and a lot of people that are successful do like makeup or hair or gossip. And it's been a challenge for me to find what I want to do. But I love interviews. So right now I'm kind of reading my tarot card readings, because I do a little oracle deck for myself. So I've been sharing that, and it's just really motivational and inspirational. But now my idea is I have 3 different series of interviews that I want to do. One for entrepreneurs, one directly for men who are overcoming things, and the third one is all inspiration and spiritual. So I have a lineup of amazing people to interview, and I'm just excited to put out content that blesses people. It's very transformational conversations, and that people are excited to hear. So I'm a YouTuber 2020. I'm so excited. And you got to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So I'm working my way up. I've got 20 new subscribers in the last week, and I'm just
that's
really
awesome
proud about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you haven't subscribe now. Follow. It means a lot, and the good, it's all free ultimately. So it's amazing knowledge. Awesome. Thanks for checking us out, and for more, I hope to see you next time.